Welcome to the PPM Playbook Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Watts, and for each episode, I will be talking to a guest to unpick the complexities of running effective programmes and portfolios of work. My company, Verto, is a veteran in this space, having supplied a programme management solution to public sector organisations since 2008. So without further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the P3M Playbook Podcast. I'm Laura Watts and it's been a while since we last recorded. We took a bit of a break, but today we are back because the conversation that we've planned today we feel is particularly important for many of our local authorities across the country here in England. Today's episode focuses on Local Government Reorganisation, or LGR, which many councils are currently navigating or preparing for. For those a little less familiar, LGR is about reshaping how local authorities are structured and how services are delivered. They're often within significant time pressure for this and with evolving direction from central government. I'm joined today by Vix Watson, Senior Business Analyst at Warwickshire County Council, who is closely involved in setting up and planning their LGR programme. What's particularly valuable about this conversation is that the work is still unfolding. There are still decisions to be made, including the potential future structure of the council itself. We're going to explore how they're approaching that uncertainty, how they've adapted their delivery model, and how they're thinking about scenario planning in a programme where timelines and outcomes are still very constrained. So, welcome, Vix. It is fab to have you here. Hiya. Right. So I'm going to kickstart with a question for you about the current position that you're in. What makes this local government reorganisation programme particularly complex for you at this stage?
At this specific stage, it's the fact that, as you alluded to, we don't currently know what it is that we need to be delivering. We submitted our proposal for a single unitary to central government in November, but some of our other local authorities have submitted different proposals for a north and south system, and some of the recent decisions that central government have made has actually gone above and beyond what was proposed by the authorities involved. So at this point we were very unsure what we're delivering, how many of it we're delivering, where we're delivering it to, and even if we're going to be the delivery leads. So there is just so many different threads, and every time you pull one, you start another hole somewhere.
So, I mean, how is that level of uncertainty shaping how you're approaching this, your planning and delivery and such like? How are you sort of organising yourselves?
It's been quite difficult. The need to factor in all of the various possibilities increases exponentially. The amount of risk associated with any action plan. I mean, in any project, that's the truth. But being so unsure of what the future is going to look like has made it even worse. We're currently trying to get to grips with just what level of resource we're going to need to deliver this. And that's really, really difficult without knowing if we're creating one council, 2, 3. We really don't know.
Right.
And I'm sure you can imagine the resource needs to go up the more authorities that are created as a result of the reorganisation.
Right.
We can plan quite well for some of the things that are a given. So, for instance, running an election is second nature to any local authority, but we don't know how many we're going to need to have to run in the lead up to the shadow authorities. So we can set up all the process, it already exists, that's lovely, but how many people, how many places, that's a different question entirely.
Does sound, pretty complex to navigate at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, as you stand, from your perspective, what does success actually look like for the programme beyond the obvious meeting the deadline?
Okay, so I think for all of us, not just me, but other customer service backgrounds, so that this is very personal to me. Success means that our customers, and it doesn't matter what customer, suffer as little impact as possible when we transition to our new structures. They shouldn't notice a difference. They will know that there's going to be a difference, but they shouldn't feel it. They shouldn't have any detriments to the services they receive, and certainly nobody should be imperiled as a result of the work that we do.
Yeah, no lag for them at all.
Yeah, you know yourself, because customers don't really care.
Yeah,
They just need what they need, and that's reasonable.
yeah, it's absolutely fair enough. Yeah, and we're all customers of something, and we all feel that, don't we? So yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you mentioned in our pre-chats for this, you mentioned that you sort of ring-fenced an area specifically for the LGR work that you're doing. It's separate to your usual project setup. So what is the differing information that you're capturing for this LGR program than you would typically capture for a more standard project?
Well, to be fair, the biggest change is that we have ring-fenced it from our normal governance process, which means it doesn't have to flow through the project brief, business case into delivery, because this is something we have no choice on, and we have no idea at this point what the final things are going to look like. There are so many unknowns that actually having what many view as red tape anyway, but I believe is actually perfectly sensible in projects. Having that governance process is an impediment rather than an assistance. We've also added loads and loads and loads of bits to the LGR section that aren't needed in other projects. Like some lessons learned we've had from other authorities is to have a day one checklist, and that's now all held in Verto. We can check back against that when we're writing up our individual task plans. We can check back against that when we're looking at how soon that really needs to be in place, ready for vesting day, or vesting day can't go ahead because we're not safe and legal.
So a day one checklist, just to dig into that a little bit more, that is, once it is complete, what are the fundamentals that need to be in place? Is that, have I got that?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. This is a list, it's several thousand lines long, of things that if we don't have in place, we will not be safe and legal, which is our minimum requirement.
Yeah, understand. So you've mentioned you've stepped outside of that governance, that ordinary governance structure, and built on it for the LGR program. What advice would you give to other organisations going through a similar thing about how to know when it's appropriate to step outside of that or to build on it?
I'm a little bit of a purist.
And I think I know this about you.
If it was any other project, taking normal governance away would set me out in hives. However, we simply do not have the time for review the detail, which is what happens as part of normal governance. We have to be able to respond to a change in government direction immediately. There is no time for us to wait because Mr. Bloggs is off for a fortnight for him to check the impact of a change. We're going to have to do that on the fly as a team, very, very, and it's not really agile, but swiftly.
I was just going to say, is it verging on slightly more of an agile way of looking at things? So are you finding this quite a learning or an upheaval? What would you call this shift in governance approach?
Ooh,
Are you surviving?
yeah, we're surviving. It's quite difficult because so many people are now mobilised,
Yeah,
and everybody wants to get everything right.
of
And
course.
as a result, you know that there's hours and hours and hours of work being done to link together things like, if we have a dependency over here,
Mm,
what does that task look like for them? How long will that take them? Are they resourced up to
yeah.
actually deliver that to time and quality? It's very swift moving. It's like being caught in a riptide.
Yeah, it sounds hectic. I mean, you've got all of the right backing and training and
Yeah,
understanding of how to run something like this. It sounds like
yeah, yeah.
it's just a
It's
bigger beast. Yeah,
it's completely unique. I mean, in
yeah.
40 years of change management, which is
Mhm.
how I'm giving away my age somewhat, I've never encountered a program such as this. We have many government-driven work to do, especially
Yeah,
when legislation changes. 99 times out of 100, we have both a choice in how we deliver that, and quite often a long lead time while things go through Parliament, through the Green Paper, White Paper, being signed off as law process. We know this is coming.
hmm
Not this time. Not this time. It's the first one I've ever experienced like this.
yeah, yeah. So how are you managing and organizing like the day-to-day activities of something, for your teams and for yourselves of something of this scale?
There's a lot of collaboration going on,
Hmm
and it is massively helped by Verto. Massively, because our data is
Yeah.
all in one spot. And you can point at that and go, well, how does that impact that? But we've currently got 8 work streams. That's soon to become 9.
Yeah.
Um, each one has a change team lead at program manager level, and we've also got a service-based workstream lead who has expertise in their current processes, what things need to be in place, etc., etc., etc. We're each focusing on specific areas, but as I say, the collaboration is enormous. Each of those work streams we know is ultimately going to evolve, and we'll start to develop child projects as a result, where we will have more focus and a stricter focus, tighter focus on a specific piece of work. Like we may have a project to actually implement the elections, as a for
Right.
instance.
Mm.
We have a core program management team
Yeah.
who sit above all of the work streams and the monitoring at that level. They're doing the collaboration with our senior leaders, our service managers, because everybody's going to be impacted, everybody without exception.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot to say and an awful lot to do and an awful lot to think about.
Yeah.
Having the aggregated data from Verto means that we
Mm.
we can cut and slice information
Mm.
to address any question that comes at us.
Yeah.
Quite often people ask standard questions during normal project governance, benefit related, this, that, and the other. At the moment, we very high level idea of what if any benefits might come. And there's normally no way we deliver a project on that basis. But there is simply no choice.
But there we go. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you about your biggest pressure points so far. Do you want to just give us a top level?
Yeah, I think the biggest pressure point is on our senior leaders.
Right.
We're feeling day-to-day operational pressure because the workload, I won't lie, it's absolutely massive.
Yeah.
But senior leaders are being asked to make decisions with absolute blindfolds,
Yeah.
and that for me, if I was in their position, I would be very, 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 very pressured by that.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, they've got the data that they've got. You talked about the aggregation of data, so you can, like you say, you can cut and splice it, and you can give them what they need. But I suppose
Yes.
without direction, clear direction from the top down,
Yeah.
they are, they're looking at this data and making their decisions without knowing if it's going to be correct or not based on
Yes.
what's going to come. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. They're being asked to be fortune tellers in many ways, and
Wow.
I don't envy them.
Yeah.
The other big challenge we've got, obviously, is because we don't understand the size of the beast, we have some idea, but not a clear idea on what the resourcing needs are going to look like.
Yeah, you've mentioned that a few times, to resource, it's three ways. Can you foresee there being any, pressure points if, say, the decision is to go with, say, the largest resource requirement needed? Can you imagine that this is going to put an incredible time strain on people? Or
It's going to become an immense financial pressure.
right.
Time is immovable, and there are only so many hours people can work before starting to feel the pain and becoming
Yeah.
less and less efficient. It starts to impact their well-being and their availability for work overall. So I think ultimately we might have to start thinking about backfilling possible recruitment, who knows, but at this point, our only wiggle room is with cost.
Yeah, right. I mean, that leads me quite nicely into another question that we had planned. I know that we spoke fairly recently about how you've been using the iron triangle, which
Yes.
is a model, and that explains that if either a project scope, the timeline, or the budget for that project, if one of those variables shift, there is an inevitable impact on the other two variables.
Yes.
And I know that you use that approach. Can you talk to me how you use that? Because you've just mentioned financials and people, and obviously it is what it is. You've got to be what did you say? Your bare minimum is legal and
safe and legal.
Legal.
Yes.
So talk to me about how those three variables come together and how you're using them.
So our scope will be defined by central government, and there's no wiggle room.
Yes.
We will implement the amount of authorities they tell us to implement. Some subsections of scope are within our purview to consider, such as how we resource, that sort of thing. But ultimately, the other thing we cannot shift is the date. That is, it's literally written in the sand. On the 31st of March,
yes,
all our existing authorities will cease to exist.
2028. Yes.
Yeah. And it's the first time I've ever had or ever worked in a project where two sides of the iron triangle are absolute. That means the only wiggle room we've got is financial.
Yeah.
But as a local authority, we don't have unlimited access to money.
No.
And we have to justify every penny that we spend, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And I keep saying to the team, this is an opportunity. You will never get an opportunity to work in a project like this again in your life.
Yeah.
Make the most of it.
I mean, I think that we've been a little bit guilty so far of talking, it's all doom and gloom, and certainly think there is uncertainty, and that's going to cause pressure and stress.
Yeah.
But actually, that point is a really solid one. And for anyone who is listening to this, who's going through this at the same time, and this is the point of this conversation, isn't it? Is to show a real live example of of an authority going through, a council going through this in real
Yeah.
time right now without all the questions answered.
Yeah.
That's actually a very positive thing to talk about. This is career changing for people potentially.
Yes.
And
it's a learning opportunity like they will never have again.
Yeah, I think that's really lovely that you brought that up, actually. So moving on just slightly, I mentioned in my intro, we're also going to be talking about scenario planning.
Yes.
This is something that we talk a lot about internally. And I know that obviously you've got a few scenarios on the table at the moment. What does that look like in practice for you?
It's in its infancy, really.
Mm-hmm.
But we have used elements of it recently to look at what our preferred option is for what we deliver as part of local government reorganisation. So anybody who's going through this will be aware that there are loosely 3 categories. There is the minimum, which is to make us safe for our customers, safe for our staff, safe for our members, and a legally based organisation in which to run. The next one up, you have Safe and Legal Plus, which is where you might look at some elements of harmonisation across the various authorities, depending what the new model looks like. You might include some transformational elements, and then you've got Safe and Legal Plus, for want of the better word, which is including all of the transformational elements. So we've looked at forecasts around what each one of those scenarios might look like for us in terms of time, cost, resource, impact. And we've taken the decision to go with Safe and Legal with 2 small elements. We plan to share one key system across all authorities. If we get the decision for one unit, we're in the position we can make that decision. If we get a decision for 2 unitaries, that we'll have to go back to the drawing board.
So you're aware of what you are capable of depending on 1 or 2 decisions, basically, and that's and that's how you're mapping your scenarios currently. I think that makes sense.
As we move forward, we can start to look at, well, if we do that, what happens here? It's very like the change impact assessment, really. Using the system to be able to do it is going to be a big deal because everybody loves those visuals. At the moment, we're our visuals aren't nearly as polished and professional as they are when they will come out of home. I look forward to that day.
Okay, great. Well, that's good to know. We'll have to get working on that. But being able to assess that change and those impacts,
yes.
So that's obviously going to reduce some pressure and some stresses, isn't it? Yeah, there's obviously there's definitely a positive to that. So obviously there's a high degree of scrutiny on the risks involved with the delivery of this programme. What do you see as the biggest risks at this stage? How are you tracking all of this?
The tracking is the easiest bit to offer because again that's been managed through Virto. We have a multi-level risk system, so each work stream has identified their own risks, which we then consolidated into an overall programme risk. Some I know will be escalated to be managed at corporate level. We haven't quite got to that stage yet of deciding which they are, but our biggest risks are around the uncertainty, are around how many people, how much money is it going to take us to get to this point. And that might sound very mercenary, but it really isn't, because every penny we spend is a penny we can't spend delivering a service.
Yeah, of course. So how important is it for teams to feel that the information that they're working on is reliable and up to date. You've obviously got the risks tracked.
Yes.
That's all fine.
Yes.
And you've talked about how everything is mapped, and the governance has been ring fenced, and all of this.
Yeah.
I'm sure it goes without saying, but the teams, so they feel supported by the fact that everything is in one place and very much tight and
Yes.
controlled.
Yes, they do feel supported by it. And we've gone to great lengths to explain to them that we fully understand that this is a moving feast, and that the information, and we said this at every level, we expect the information to be true today. It may not at this point be true tomorrow.
Yeah.
That message is getting through, but project managers don't like uncertainty. It's not their wheelhouse. And it's been a long road for them to get their heads around that. The fact that they're putting something in that they pretty much assume is incorrect, but it's what they know now.
It sounds like potentially a lot of cultural shifts as well. So,
Yes.
It's all very well having the tool in place, but
Yes.
having that second nature taken away from them, knowing, like you say, okay, I'll pop this in now, but I know I will have to redo this tomorrow. The information will be different tomorrow. That is real culture change, isn't it? And that's a real,
yes, it is.
significant shift.
It can be heartbreaking, especially if you're a long-standing project manager with well-established processes that you use, and well-established networks that know your process. And all of a sudden you're working outside of that's really quite difficult for them.
Yeah, it must be tough for you to keep up morale sometimes. I think, harking back to that statement that you made, this is the one opportunity you're going to have to work on something like this. That reframe of, this is not terrible, this is actually just something different. Lean into
different.
it. That's quite nice.
That's the message I consistently give is, yes, this is difficult, but it's difficult because it's different.
Sounds like they're supported on two fronts there. Yeah.
Oh, I've got to be honest, the program team, the program managers, the support, BA, all of them, we are holding each other up. And it's a very lovely thing to watch as we come together and form that support network, and we can then go on and offer it to the wider work streams, the people who are in BAU. The more we can buoy people up and make them positive about this, the better.
Fantastic. Yeah. This leads me very nicely into another few questions I've got about your advice, really, for councils who are going through this or about to start, or or whatever stage they're at. What would you encourage them to think about first? Is there anything that you would have set up early, that you already have set up early, that's made a disproportionate difference to how it's progressive far?
Biggest single thing we did, the biggest single positive thing we did, is we reached out to other authorities who had been through it. We spoke to quite a few authorities, one in particular. I'm naming no names because that wouldn't be fair. But we've had immense learning from those guys, and we are enormously grateful. We can take things that became huge pitfalls for them, and work processes into our practice to avoid them becoming pitfalls here. That is my major takeaway, is learn from everybody else's lessons.
Well, that's brilliant. I mean, hopefully, like I said, this recording, this session today, will form part of that support, part of that help for other councils moving forward. And that's amazing that you got such such open access to what the previous council had gone through before. It's great, isn't it? I always think this is why I love working and talking so often to people from public sector, because you are not up against any of that competitive Chinese walls, closed guard, anything. It's all very open, and it is all about supporting each other and building up the sector as a whole, isn't it? So that's great.
Yes.
So looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently? Is there anything you would pull the plug on if you were starting again?
Okay, so it's a bit early for some of those thoughts. But knowing this question was coming, I have given it some thought. Right at this minute, and this is my personal opinion, it may well not be shared with my senior managers. Apologies if that's the case. I feel we should have done work earlier about what projects we shelved to free up resource. So, and this isn't a genuine example, but just for the purposes of this conversation, if you've got an IT project that is looking at multiple integrations between systems, is it really worth continuing with that if you may not actually be using those systems in contract in the new authority?
Very interesting. Yeah, I think that's a very good shout. It's all
contracts are going to be up in the air, so look at everything you're doing and say, if we can't actually get any use of this post vesting day, should we continue?
Yeah, really interesting. Specifically about resource and being able to mobilize what you need faster. Really interesting.
Especially specialist resource. So your ICT, your legal, your solicitors, your contract managers, those people are critical.
Yeah. Okay, so finally then today, what do you hope that other organisations take away from how you at Warwickshire are approaching this?
It's okay if you don't know something. There is lots you are not going to know. The trick is to be open and honest about the fact you don't know, and then try and find out. Don't accept that you don't know. Do try and find out. Having a flexible tool. I mean, I personally do most of my work in Verto and manage the system myself. But having Verto be as flexible as it is has been amazing. If you use it, make the most of it. Think about changing how you work, changing what you collect, who gets involved in collaborations. It's been absolutely amazing for us, especially for cutting and slicing data, because a lot of the questions we're not used to getting, because they'd normally be set out in a paper and they could read them. It's ever such a strange thing. It's quite difficult to explain. I've already mentioned about deprioritising work that would be lost if you are going to implement a new authority. But actually, one of the biggest things, and again, this is my personal opinion, is for every single system that you own, even if you aren't immediately on the list for LGR, start cleansing your data now.
Well, that's a big one, isn't it?
It's absolutely massive. But there was one area of our data that was in a number of very disparate places. It took us quite a while to get it all together, because it's absolutely essential. We will not be legal if we can't actually address everything that we were collecting on that particular data set.
I mean, when was it announced? December or so, 24, wasn't it, or somewhere around that date? So you'd like to hope, I suppose, that there is progress being made at some point. I hope, for everybody affected. So hopefully, data cleansing is not something that they're going to have to retrospectively sort out. But I think that's really good advice, very sound advice.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you're gonna novate your contract, or you need to end your contract, you need to retrieve your data from it to go into something else, then you can only migrate if that data is clean.
Right. Yeah, fantastic. Well, I think that's a good place to end for today. Thank you so much, Vix, for sharing such a clear and practical view of what it is like to run an LGR program in real time. It sounds immense. I wish you all the luck with it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. For those listening who are navigating the similar challenges, hopefully this has provided a little bit of reassurance and some practical ideas to take forward. Like always, we hope to be helpful, and I really hope that this episode today has been hopeful to you all. If there are any questions that you have for Vix or myself that you don't think I asked or answered, please do add a comment below, because we would love to hear from you, and we can always follow up with Vix and find out some extra information from her that might be pertinent to what you're going through at the moment. And as always, it would be great if you could comment and subscribe and like these episodes, because it really does help push the podcast to others who may well want to hear from us as well. But on that note, thank you very much for listening. Thanks again once to you as well, Vix. It was wonderful to have you on. Really appreciate you giving up your time. And I hope you can all join us again soon.